Hello Dillies! Welcome to a very special Passion of the Crates, brought to you by DJ Stop. Brought some of my setup in here because, as you may or may not have heard, there's been a resurgence in vinyl purchasing, vinyl buying, vinyl owning of late. And so people need to know how to handle vinyl, how to handle a turntable, how to use a turntable. What is a turntable? What are the various parts of a turntable? How does it connect to your stereo? So, this is one of the classic Technics turntables. I have an SL MK2 1210. It's basically one of the industry standards for the last 20-30 years. Yeah, it's kind of been eked out by a lot of the digital CDJs and laptop stuff. But if you went to a club like 10 years ago, this was there, no matter what. This was the turntable that was in use. Anyway, it's not about this particular turntable, it's about turntables in general. How do you use them? Generally, you need to plug a turntable into something, not just directly into speakers, because the signal that comes out is not as powerful as a digital output, so you need some sort of amplification. I have here a Technics mixer. It's actually an old school battle mixer, but it doesn't matter, whatever. And this, I plug it into the phono, and then the phono from this goes into an amplifier, but in this case I have a speaker here. Just this is how I'm going to be showing you. So you need to know, first of all, what the different parts of a turntable are. So I'll remove the record first, and I'll just show you underneath. I'll show you this is bare turntable. So I'm just going to lock the tone arm. This is the tone arm. Lock the tone arm in place. You need to have yourself a head shell, and on the head shell you have yourself a needle. Needle needs to be relatively new, good condition, not bent out of shape. Plug it in, and then you have your platter right going on here. Should be able to spin freely. There's belt drives, there's direct drives. This happens to be a direct drive. Your little on-off switch, simple enough. You got your little light to show you what's going on. Now you need to know how to set the speed correctly. Usually you've only two options. Some of the newer turntables, they have a third option, which is 78. But in fairness, 78's very obscure. Not many people have them. You're not going to be buying any new 78s nowadays. But you might still be buying 45s, and you might still be buying 33s. So you need to know what speed your record is at. Set it accordingly. On-off switch. Pretty simple. On, off. Now, some turntables will have basically like a rubber mat built into it, and if that's the case, if you're just playing a record, you don't really need to know or worry about slip mats. But if you're going to be doing any kind of DJing or anything like that at all, whether you're scratching or not, you're going to want to have a slip mat, because if you're holding the record to wait to drop it at the right time, you want to have a slip mat so your record doesn't get all messed and scratched. So be careful handling your record. You want the grooves not to get scratched. You want to just hold it like nicely at the sides. You don't want like fingerprint dirt and all that sort of stuff. Place it on the spindle, the middle bit, that's called a spindle. So a lot of people do this. If you're going over to your friend's house, they have a turntable, you don't know what a turntable is, how to work it, and you do something like this. No, don't do that. You want to have a steady hand, and you actually want to brace your hand somewhere on the turntable so that you've got more control. And the way records read is from the outside inwards. CDs read from the inside out, but you don't care because you just press play, it's going to do it. But if you're playing a record and you want to start it from the start, you put it on the outside and you just wait for the few little blank grooves, and then your song's going to start. So that's how that works. There's a weight on the back of it, because you can get different head shells, different needles. So a couple of little pointers to make sure that you're aware of. If you're, like I said, if you're over at your friend's house and you don't know what a turntable is, don't touch it. Just don't, because there's lots of expensive damage that you can do very unwittingly and completely accidentally. So best not to touch it if you don't know what you're doing. Secondly, if you go to a nightclub and there's somebody playing DJs, or sorry, if there's somebody DJing with turntables, do not under any circumstances touch that equipment, because you're likely to get punched in the face. I'm not an advocate of violence by any means, but if you touch some records and you don't know what you're doing and you break something, you could potentially ruin the whole night for the guy. He might not have a backup needle, he might not have backup equipment, you might destroy a very rare and unique record. Just stay away, stand by. Second thing you never do in a nightclub is request Journey. I mean, never request to ask to put your phone. If there's a DJ playing records, don't say, "Oh, can I plug my phone in?" That's just ignorant. Don't ever do that. Okay, so you might say, well, what about those other small records that I've seen before? So I'll remove this one carefully, put it over here. And yeah, there's these records here. They're called 45s or 7 inches based on the size of them. And some of them have this larger hole in them. So what do? Well, you need an adapter. You get yourself a 45 adapter. A lot of turntables come with them. You can also buy extra ones, spare ones, whatever. So it goes in the middle, and that's the way. A lot of these older 45s, they were for jukeboxes and whatever, and they had this old format of a bigger hole, and that's what you do. And I may as well just play it for you guys. But this is 45, gotta get the speed right.